Hey, good morning, guys, and welcome to STN Stock Talk with Ricky and myself. It's Goose here, ready for a great day ahead of us. Got quite a few things on the radar as always. Going to discuss a few of them with you today. Just a reminder, guys, when Ricky and I are pulling these ideas every day, nothing's a solicitation. We're just going over ideas. I got a couple good ones. I got actually a little freebie at the end that I want to throw at you, a little idea.
Nice.
And I know Ricky's all over Dick's today, so I'm excited to hear what he has to say about that one.
Oh, you had to.
Yeah, that's exactly. So, with that all being said, make sure you guys read the disclaimer that's up there as well as the description area. Guys, I know we've changed the format a little bit. Make sure you're telling your friends about it. It's really easy to join the site, as you guys could see. So just let people know if you're in a little, clique of people and you're on little private chats on Skype or whatever it is. Just let people know how easy it is. You just need your email to plug in to join the free trading floor and do pop onto the live broadcast. So let's keep that rolling. We're trying to put this up for you guys every day to give you some content. Make sure you're spreading the word about us. We appreciate it very much. So with that being said, Ricky, we'll turn it over to you and Dix.
I'm not starting with it. I'm not leading with it. All right, guys, welcome over to StockTraders.net. Thank you for joining us for Stock Talk. We've been doing this for a while on YouTube. We are now in-house, loving it. Feel right at home here, guys, and I'm hoping you guys are enjoying it as well. Let's get right into things. First thing on my list today is actually OGEN, OGEN. We all know it's a turd. I mean, I've covered it before in Stock Talk, and the daily chart says everything you need to know. However, they filed an S1 towards the end of last month. They got their notice of effectiveness, I believe, May 8th. So just recent enough. There are warrants in that, I think, just shy of $1 million at $2. So $2 is the number we're watching. I would love to see a shove up in the 264 where the 200 days at. Who knows if we get it or not, but it won't matter because we have our risk management. We know how to stay off the front side. We know how to watch for the backside. We know how to smack these things. So I'm not really going to get too much into the fundamentals of their balance sheet and everything. We all know they're trash. 6 million OS is all you need to know. It can move. It does move. Just make sure you know how to stay safe. If not, DM me. We can discuss it or we can talk about it openly in the chat. We always discuss it in the premium room. We can talk about it in the free room too. But there are definitely strategies that allow you to stay off the front side of these low float rippers. All right, guys. Next thing I'm going to cover is CODX, and I'm pretty sure everyone wants to hear about it because it had that giant move yesterday. And there's not much to say about it as far as red flags. I know everybody wants to hear that it's like the biggest scam ever, and they just IPO'd last July, and I went back and looked at the filings from things that happened even before the IPO, trying to get a good grasp on things. There are some things like one of their board of directors sold them a company, like sold 100% of his ownership of his own company for, it was like 6.8 million shares, but then they did a 1-for-11 reverse split right before the IPO. So that made him a holder of about, I think, just shy of 600,000 shares, but they IPO'd at $6. So that put the value of what he sold them at $3.5 million. So that's a little bit shady, but there was one thing, and it was a deal they did where it was a licensing agreement with a company called Watermark, and they were basically going to have them sell some of their DNA testing stuff. And the deal ended up going through, but then got sent to court because somebody that actually was a note holder that people were claiming the note was paid in full and everything said, no, this isn't paid in full, and actually it's past due and they're demanding payment. It turns out that there was some forging going on, and that there was a whole lot. That to me is just a huge red flag as far as the ethics of the company and what will and won't be done in the future. So that is what the red flag for me was on it. But they do have warrants. I think 600,000 of them at about $2.91. We're obviously way over that level, and I don't think 600,000 shares is anything to worry about if the volume is anything like yesterday. As you can see, they did almost 17 million shares yesterday after doing about an average of 100,000 shares a day since, right? So yesterday was kind of one of those days where you could have just stayed out of this on the volume alone. Let's see if the volume's less today. If it is, we might catch a fade. But if we have volume that is rivaling prior days or greater than, may stay sidelines on this one again today. But same thing as OGEN. We know how to stay off the front side, guys. So if it sets up properly and gives us reason to want in, we will be there on the short side on this. All right, here we go, guys. We're going to go into the Richard Sporting Goods play. Whoops.
This is a hard one to go over right now.
Man, it's so hard. Anyway, we are gapping way up on earnings, guys. And you can see the two levels I have marked on the chart. And these are old levels. They're not anything I put here today. I don't remember if you guys remember the stock talk I did back when I was looking at this as a swing trade. And you can see the trend line that I was watching, and that was the basis of the swing. We had the 50 and the 20 crossing over the 200, and we did get that move that we were looking for. It just never broke out, which we were really playing it for the breakout. It didn't. It broke that trend, but it always held the 200-day. And I mean, even though this is sort of in a downtrend from here, all this for like the last 5 months, if you ask me, that's sideways action. It's in a $5 range, whatever. We are finally breaking out now, okay? So that 35, let's call it 35.65 level, that's key. We want that to act as support. But up at these levels where we're at now, I think we're gapping a bit too much, and I think this thing's going to retrace. I did not put a short on up there, and I probably, in hindsight, I was busy getting ready for stock talk, whatever, excuses out the window. This may still set up for a short, guys. If it shoves up into that 30 level and rejects and shows some resistance, I may put a short on and fade this back to the 5-minute 20. And if that doesn't hold, be looking to cover around 35.65. And then I will be looking for this thing to be a long. It will have to, the same way we stay off the front side for the shorts on the low floats, guys. I'm not the first one to buy the dip either. I'm not catching falling knives, and I'm not shorting front sides, guys. If you don't understand how that works, talk to me in the chat. We're happy to discuss it. Our main goal in running the chat and doing stock talk is to help you guys stay safe and protect your capital. That's how you have longevity in this game. That's everything I got to say about Richard Sporting Goods and the rest of the turds that I talked about. I'm going to throw it back to Goose because I definitely want to hear about what he's going to say.
Hey, thank you, man. Richard Sporting Goods, huh?
That's right. Got to keep it PG, man. We don't know who's listening.
True, indeed. So let me just jump in. I got a little freebie at the end. It's a little oddball one for you. I did a little homework on something. I want to see if it comes to fruition. But I'm going to jump right into Salesforce for a second. CRM, and this is what I'm looking at CRM early. I just saw that it caught an upgrade, Credit Suisse, but this is kind of what I'm thinking on this. Is the first thing I drew is the retrace from pre-market levels and 129, 130. What we were talking about it actually in chat, and one of the gentlemen in chat actually brought up a good point. A lot of these have been coming back a little bit more than I usually would start on these. So I'm going to be a little bit more patient and hope for this 129, maybe a wash 139, 130 to 129 area for potential long. Obviously, there's some very obvious levels pre-market to pay attention to. But I also want to watch this 134 area. There's something that's telling me that if it pushes up in here, as you can see, it keeps trying this 134 area, that it might set up. I really feel like this could come back into that 130, 131 area. And if that being said, then why wouldn't I take the fade? So if at the open, it does a big shove, let's say it opens up here, does a nice shove up into 134-ish, I'll look for a quick backside trade for like a couple bucks on this thing as a fade. But what I'm hoping is it does a quick wash at the open down to 130. I could take a long and then possibly trade it back up towards 132 to 134. So CRM is going to be high on my watch right at the open. I think there's going to be a lot of range in this name, especially with the market looking like it's going to open up pretty strong this morning. I'm going to be looking at it from the long side to start off. Next thing I want to go over is KORS, KORS. Here's my thought on KORS. I'm watching this, and I know I don't know whether a call is done or not. I'm here with you guys on Stock Talk. But listen, there's something I'm noticing on KORS is how it's acting so far pre-market. And I know it's been fading over the last, say half hour or so and coming back down, as you could see. But, this reaction was pretty quick and bought back up. And there's some technical levels I want to show you. On the daily, you got about, at 65, we'll call it. And obviously it's through that now, but it was above it, when I started talking, or a little bit ago, I should say. So this is a level of interest right now, the 65 level, if it wants to quickly reclaim that after the open. The next thing that I want to talk about is, as far as this pre-market low, but if it breaks that, look at this area right here in the $60. You got the whole number, you got prior support. There's a lot there. If this thing really wants to come in heavy right at the open and, sellers want to bail, look at that level for a nice bounce. With the market the way it is, there's something telling me that I think this is going to be a nice, sweet long today. So, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at from the long side, a push back into a G2C type play. I would take that trade as well, which if you guys have been with our community, you'll know that's a push back up into that prior close. So that's something else. Dang it, I was talking about BLNK the other day. They just PR'd. That one's moving. So I see that happening right now. But let me jump over to my little thought on is Movado. I said to Ricky earlier, they make nicer watches than Fossil, at least. But Movado, what I did is I was looking back at the big move that it made on the last earnings release. And this is kind of a really curveball type thing, but this is all the stuff that I tear apart when I look at these. And I'm looking at it for a possible fade. It's a much thinner name. So I want you guys to understand that when you're trading a vehicle like this, it's a lot thinner, you could see. Yesterday traded, like 400,000 shares or so, I think it was. Yeah, 400. So anyway, just keep that in mind. But what I noticed was after the first 10 minutes of the open, it opened up. It made a huge push right at the open because it was such a thin name. And after that first 10 minutes, and it had really good earnings last time, as you can see with this move, it came all the way back to the open. So what I'm hoping for is a similar reaction. I want to see if it's right at 48. Let's say it makes a big gap at the open and pushes another $3 or $4. And I'm going to look at around 940 or so for a potential fade. I want to see where the high is, and I might play it off that high at around 940, 945 for a fade back towards the open. So a little freebie out there, little interesting, mechanics and thoughts to it. And obviously it's got to line up, but I am going to look for something like that just based on the history and what it's gave up last time. And I think it's, I also, you can obviously see it's kind of traded up over the last week and a half into earnings. So I think there might be a little backside move on this trade, and I'm going to be looking at it. All right, guys, that's it for me. Guys, stay safe today. BLNK, a couple other new ones that are hitting the radar. We'll cover those in the room. And again, thanks for being here, guys. We're in the house now. Please continue to tell everybody how to get here. It's a very interesting switch from YouTube to here, but listen, it doesn't cost you anything to join the free trading room. You guys have noticed that. Please tell everybody about us. We're trying to do this for you guys, like Ricky says. So if you like what we're doing, please spread the word about us. We appreciate it very much. So Ricky, back to you, man.
Thanks a lot, Goose. Great ideas. And I just want to point out real fast, had a member just DM me in the chat and was asking about the warrants on OGEN and was asking, aren't non-exercisable until October? And I had to run back and look at the filings real quick, and sure enough, buried a little deeper in that last prospectus supplement, you cannot exercise those $2 warrants until October 10th. So thank you for pointing that out. I do want to be the first one to correct my mistakes and also acknowledge that, a lot of times when I'm throwing together these ideas pre-market, I'm going over names and reading filings as fast as possible because, unless something was gapping up the night before on earnings or whatever, a lot of times we don't have a super long amount of time to put these ideas together and make sure the filings are read thoroughly. But I really, really appreciate anytime someone points something out to me like that so that people aren't trading on false information or whatever. And I don't want people to get hurt or lose money because, I said something about a filing and it turns out it was slightly inaccurate. So I really, really appreciate that. I'm not sure if he wants to be named or not, so I'm just going to, who you are. But and for future reference, guys, if anybody does hear me say something, you got a question about a filing, or think that maybe something I had read was not fully accurate or whatever, DM me or even say it in the room. I don't care. I have thick skin, guys, but we're all here to grow together and make money. All right. So that being said, let's protect that capital. Go out there and crush it today, guys. Peace.